To the studio. To the Batmobile. Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back to Hxro Labs Live / The Network Effect. Kind of a mishmash today because we're scheduled for Hxro Labs Live, but it's a big day in Hxro Network Town, and we've got Gunny, the founder, on my right. Yeah, there he is. And we're just going to talk. We're going to talk all things markets, Hxro specific network stuff today. We just went live. Lots going on. And Gunny, where are you right now? You're not at home.
I am in a remote location in Barcelona.
Undisclosed remote location across the ocean.
Have not found Do. I'm out looking for Do Kwon. I haven't found him here. I had a dream that maybe he was in Barcelona. Flew over here.
So we're on the hunt, looking for Do Kwon over in Barcelona. Not really though, but let's go straight to this this thread. I mean, this is all over my Twitter today. It's getting shared. There's a lot of sort of buzz in the Discord. This must be an exciting day for you, having seen it coming for quite a while and finally getting to see it go live. Tell us about it.
Yeah, this has been a long time. Like everything, it happened in a minute, and you keep thinking in a minute, and the reality is that these things take time. Like, first thing to say is, like, if I'm going to go all the way back to when we started, and obviously the people in our community that have really been patient, I think you're going to be happy that you were patient, I guess is kind of the first thing to say. But it takes a long time to build these things. And if you go all the way back to the beginning, we started building on Solana at a time when Solana lacked a lot of tools to really build fast. Building is something that is pretty heavy, and it actually will have a material impact context of the global derivatives space, in that it really is a primitive layer that can have a real flag in existence when we think about establishing a DeFi lane in across all derivatives. And so we had to build it carefully, and it took some iterations. It took a lot of effort from our core team, from a couple of really invested engineers, a small group of engineers from Jump Trading, a couple guys from Susquehanna. There was a real group that came together for the common good here, and really it was just to get it to this point. Like, the creation of Dexterity took months, and there was one point where we ran into a corner case when we were first building, like the first iteration of all of it. You have this concept of everything being tokenized on Solana, and we were trying to solve was tokenizing the actual risk, because some of the things that you need here to really be competitive with a TradFi equivalent layer, you need to have things like really sound portfolio margining, and you need to be able to handle lots of products, and you need good data. There's so many components to it that really, and so it all took longer than expected. We would love to spin it up in 6 weeks and launch staking and have a whole thing, sure, but we're creating this community and this foundation to really build something that is sustainable and can far outgrow us. And in order to do that, a couple extra months really isn't going to make the difference. And so
it's not a Uniswap fork, is what I'm hearing.
It's not a Uniswap fork. It's not built on top of Slit. We started with a pile of wood. It was like what's that? Your kids, or probably half the people here are old enough where they played Roblox, and you get dropped in there with nothing, and you got to figure out how to chop wood.
Well, that's Minecraft, and I have
Oh,
played
sorry,
that.
Minecraft. Thank you.
Say,
Sorry.
Dudge Hudson in the chat just coined the name the Energizer Gunny, and I love it. I just want to throw that out there. So thank you, Dudge Hudson.
Thanks,
Pretty
Robert.
much the Energizer Gunny ever since I've met you. Just been going hard. The weekly calls, weekly meetings, constant. Every time I talk to you, you're like, yeah, I'm just in the middle of like 8 calls. One sec. Like, so I mean, I'm really happy for you to see that look on your face. I just see that little grin sneaking out the side, like, okay, we're live.
Yeah,
We've got a beta. I want to participate. Where do I go? It's hinted on the screen. Let's
So
walk.
here's the game.
I know there's a lot of people keen to get their feet wet.
Yeah, we have finally, now that we're here and we have substantive technology, now we're focusing on growing community. Like, we didn't want to grow and then be here 6 months later with no tech or some disastrous tech. So now we're here, and and really focusing a little overhaul in the Discord. That a lot of people who are in the pit there. We did not move the pit because that pit is legendary. And if you're not in there, you should definitely go get in there. But first thing you're going to do is you're going to join the Discord, and then also in this now you can go to what is going to end up being our new site in the long term for the network. You can go to hxro.com, which is hxro.com, and it's a little janky still because it's just a landing page. So give it some time. But you're just going to simply connect a Solana wallet. Make sure that you're using a burner wallet.
So not my main wallet, just in case.
Has your all of your money in it and all your tokens and all your Hxro, like just set up a blank wallet all you're going to do is verify an address and then go to the Discord and start joining the conversation. Okay. It's really simple. And then in the next couple of days we're going to start going back to everybody and giving them the ability to log into the beta. And for who isn't direct, and I'll drop a little, something that's coming down the pipe. There's first partner UI for the ecosystem, which is called Open. Should be.
Sorry, say that again.
It's called Open Hxro.
Open Hxro.
OPEN HXRO. It's built by a couple anonymous engineers. It's just a basic WebEx, but it has some really cool features. It has this what's called ladder trading. It's going to be able to support kind of active spread trading. It feels like a Web 2 platform. It has audit trails and time and sales, and it has these ladders that I wish I could throw it up and show you guys it.
Well, let's leave that as a hint because we'll be back next Tuesday, and
that'll be how you access the markets.
Nice.
There will be some capital blocks dropped on it, so I think it's I think you can deposit to the platform more than 5,000, and then you're going to start trading, and it'll be it's Bitcoin, a Bitcoin per 2 weekly expiring futures, 2 monthly expiring futures, and 4 quarterlies. And that is going to get the party started.
Now let's talk about these capital blocks. This morning, obviously, the news dropping Wintermute, or is it Wintermute? Getting hit for something like $160 million. This is a little bit about what's your thought process around capital blocks and early, really moving slow.
Yep.
Terrible news, obviously, for Wintermute, but let's talk a bit about why you chose these blocks and how we can expect to see them expand over time. What are you looking for?
Great question. And I don't think that, I think that everybody who's here and everybody involved, you won't really think about there's a lot of short-term opportunity. We want to think about this in the context of long-term. And to throw capital blocks in, what that basically does is the amount of funds that can ever exist in the market because of the fact that, for every winner, you have to pay, the loser has to pay the winner in trading. So there can only be so much capital that's slushing around the market. And everything here is USDC collateral settled. So limiting the amount of funds that are there in the case that in these very base stages that we are exploited. And while audits on the trading end, the staking audit's already been done, on the trading end, while those get completed, we want to be able to limit. So if there's an issue, it's something that's reasonable that the network can either replace or, depending on what happens, or even the sense of the risk of somebody, connecting and they're only going to lose a certain amount. And we all have to realize that in the technology we're in, it's a very real risk that we take regardless of what platform. And so
it's crazy to me that it's the first time I'm hearing of this. Like for Hxro Network, I knew that we were using these, but it's surprising that more projects in the space don't do this. You just see day one launch and it's just like 400 million TVL, and you're like, we're going to stress test the system a little bit. Frankly, I think it's a good idea. I know for some people that are itching to get 100K in there and they just want to ape, but it's like, it makes sense to move slow, especially when you've just built
establish something. So I want to establish something so can keep $10 million on it.
Yeah.
And in order to do that, you have to create trust, and it's going to take a while. And we need to stress test it. And so it's not like, at least in the market that we're in right now, there's not a tremendous hurry.
We are getting into the sideways market, which usually lasts longer than you like. So
yeah,
we are getting some reports of the audio. This is a little what I was worried about with the hotel Wi-Fi, but let's see if we can push through, guys. Otherwise, we can keep this one short and sweet, and we'll get a deeper catch up with Gunny when he's back.
Otherwise, also, we'll go back into the Discord, and tonight or later on, I can hop on voice there, and we can have a conversation. I'm happy to do that, of course.
Yeah, Dutch Hudson's giving you the heads up. He says if you swap your mic there and back, sometimes that can help. It's not, unfortunately, there's nothing I can do where I'm sitting. I think it's very much just a case of hotel Wi-Fi, but this is sometimes what you get when the man's on the road, and we still want to get that update. For those of you who are here. Yeah, well, look, we're going to get a deeper update for sure on Discord voice. When you're back home later this week, next week, we're going to get you on here again. And in the meantime, guys, if you are here, we're going to talk markets, talk charts. That's going to be the meat of the show in the next few minutes. We're going to kick over to that. But let's see if we can get a few more sound clips out of Gunny here before.
So let me, so basically you're going to go ahead and start, and you're going to be able to participate in the beta. We're going to slow roll, so it'll go in waves. And then part of whitelisting your address, you're going to get a token dropped into your wallet. And this is kind of a cool first thing that we're doing in the community. Is we come from a trading background, and we've always had this idea of when you were down on the floor, you had trading badges, which basically were representative of, like, you had an acronym, it was some way of the marketplace identifying who you are very quickly. And so we kind of want to introduce that into the Hxro community in a cool way, and we're going to do it through NFTs. And so we are going to do an NFT drop, that will be tangential and really just part of the whole community growth. But we're going to do a 10,000 NFT drop that will be available to anybody. Oh, he's saying my audio is totally effed.
Yeah, I'm a little concerned with that, dude. I think I'm hearing it clearly because I'm in rendezvous with you, but I think the feed out to the live is just like ba 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 ba.
Sure.
So we may have to just leave this one. Yeah, let's kill it because look, you've got a lot of good info. There's no sense in you repeating it twice. Let's get you in the Discord for a voice sesh. We can circle back with Dead Cape Bounce and let's organize something like that because it is a little garbled, guys. I had my suspicions about the hotel Wi-Fi, but it was a big day. We wanted to give it a shot. But look,
and I demanded that I come on today.
I know. I said,
So
Gunny,
you're-
let's get you next week. He's like, nope, I'm coming in hot. But look, it is what it is. I'm here. We're gonna get into the charts. We're gonna talk markets as per norm, and then let's direct everyone to the Hxro, to the Hxro Labs Twitter, and we'll get a follow up out there so you guys can hear in clear, crispy 3D audio from Gunny later today, or whenever you guys get a chance to go over that.
Yeah. Can you,
Okay.
Can you
I mean,
hear
I
it?
can still hear you, but how's
We
that sound,
wanna get-
Gunny?
Yeah, that sounds good to me. I think let's just get everybody to make sure they're in the Discord.
Yeah.
Make sure you're following our, the Hxro Twitter accounts, both at Hxro Network and the Hxro Labs accounts, and me, Hxro BTC for updates on everything. Things are going to be moving fast in the next few weeks. There's going to be a lot to do. Staking is coming up. We're shooting for launching it at the end of the month.
Okay.
So that's a real big, important milestone coming up. Yeah, and so if you can, the faster you can get in the Discord and get in the chat, get yourself whitelisted, start participating in the community. There's gonna be a lot of activation, a lot of things going on that can really help grow your status within the community and make you a valuable part of it, which is what we want everybody to come and do. So,
All right. Perfect. Gunny, I'm going to let you go here. I'm going to stay live. So if you guys are watching, stick around. We're going to pivot.
All right, brother.
And we'll circle back on Twitter and get everybody into the next, maybe like a Twitter space or in the Discord.
Sounds great.
All right.
All right, guys.
All right. Thanks for joining us, Gunny. Talk to you in a bit. Boom. Boom. Okay. So for those of you who missed that last little bit, real call to action right now is to get live on Twitter following Hxro Network, Hxro Labs Live, where's Gunny? Here we go. Hxro BTC as well. Lots of stuff coming up. It's going to be moving fast. So if you guys aren't already following all of those channels, now is the right time to do it. And of course, getting into the Discord where there's a whole list basically funneling everything through that. So for those of you who are around and you stuck up through that, it's not my dial-up, all right, Swivel Jaw. I'm still rocking that gigabit connection, but he is in a hotel, and y'all know how hotels go. So we're going to switch over here to some charts. Let's talk about the market a bit. Let me take a look here. I think I moved my chart over. But yeah, let's talk markets, guys. Look, today, as the schedule goes, was just going to be Hxro Labs Live. So you just get me. We're talking charts. We're sifting through the rubble as a lot of the majors head down to the lows. Got a nice little hourly here on ETH, although I'll be honest with you, if I was doing anything to it, I'd probably be looking in this short reload zone, risking to that high or something. But I'm not actually trading it down here at this moment. Obviously, today, in my world, the big news and announcement is here from Hxro Network. Block putting out a nice little article today. Solana-based Hxro launches Bitcoin derivatives marketplace. So, yeah, unfortunately with the audio with Gunny, but I think we're going to set up some kind of like Discord sound space very soon. Actually, I can switch here one sec. I'm going to switch my Outlook, or my Outlook. I'm going to change my Outlook. I'm going to change my layout one sec, guys. Back to solo mode. Give me a sec. Boom. All right. So we'll go to that. Now I'm all alone. Yeah, so big congrats. I mean, that's really the takeaway today. Gunny was excited, wants to get in here, regardless of, whatever's going on in the market. There's a lot being built over there, and it's finally live. We can touch it. We can play with it. Coming up very soon. So I'm excited. Now let's go see what else is going on in the market. First of all, my mushroom, well, no, it's not my mushroom stock, but I was looking at my mushroom stock. It's poop. It's not very good. My thesis was not on point. That's why I don't trade stocks. Now, what's then NASDAQ doing today? Not a whole lot. Boring. Not a whole lot. Now, look, if I was a proponent of we melt higher, it would be this kind of reload zone that I would be, paying attention. Not capitulating and assuming new lows, but actually saying, hey, if this was the W that marked the low of this little dip, then the breakout retest of this is where I want to be thinking long again. So if we translate that, since you guys know I don't long the S&P, I've got this chart here of ETH. Been talking about this level for a while. If I had more patience, I would have simply waited for it. Better yet, even shorted down to it. I had a couple of little shorts last week. Didn't hold them. Just traded them for the day. But there is a lot going on at this level. In fact, I have another chart where there's even more. Put this together the other night. Look at this. Now, this does not mean that there is even necessarily that there's a higher probability that things bounce here. And I learned that the hard way. When I used to be learning TA and I would find like 100 different reasons why this level was so perfect, and then sometimes I would think, oh, that means I should size up more. And like any other trade idea or any other level, it can get blown up and it can be wrong. And so I've learned that lesson the hard way. So just to be clear, even though we have lots of confluence at this level, like lots, I've kind of listed it here. There's all kinds of reasons why price might not only head to that position, but also possibly reverse at that level. Having said that, doesn't mean it will hold there, but I am planning to make my next approach in the low to mid 1100s. And I think that these upper and mid 12s is not a bad place. That's originally where I was looking. If you guys recall, like last month, I was just thinking, we're going to come Wyckoff check at this sweet spot. Eventually, if we take long enough, there's a trend line coming up there. So there's all kinds of reasons to be thinking cautiously optimistic on Ethereum. That's if you decide you have to trade this, right? The overall message, I think, from me is still, let's just assume we're going to be waiting a long time for the next uptrend, because you tend to go up fast, down faster, and then sideways for a while. So if this is the bottom, if these are around the lows, we can expect a long wait, which is not the most exciting news, but that's where we are. That's what it is. And getting on side with what the market is instead of trying to make it something it's not is a great way to stay in shape. So that's it. That's my big take on ETH. Tons of confluence at this level. What are you guys looking at in the market? FOMC local bottom tomorrow, says Kevin. Either bounce here or it's lights out. I would love to see, I guess if I want to be a bull at this level and I want to see continuation up, because remember, even if we're in this long sideways market for the next while, that doesn't mean that like it has to be really flat. Let me get a better chart here. Like there could be some really nice moves in the coming year, even if we don't blow up like we all want to, right? To the upside. So for example, it's possible we could range through that, get up here, come into a short reload zone, come back down. We're just kind of moving sideways. Like that could be the next year. And there's obviously a lot of interesting trades there. So I'm not going to touch anything. I'm just, limiting my patience, limiting my exposure, so to speak. So I'm not like all in at each level. Now we got a really nasty weekly close. It was quite disappointing 2 nights ago, right here, where you have this low, higher, or this high, lower high yet again, and then break down and close below. So a little M-top action here. So any squeeze up should be considered an opportunity to offload positions for me or take on shorts, because the most latest structure we put in on that weekly is the M. So let's just be aware of that, guys. You got to read what the market's telling us. It is bearish on the moving averages, bearish market structure. So even though I think it's coming into a place where I'm the most excited as far as like risk reward buying opportunities, gotta be cautious. XRP's mooning. Okay, we got some guys in the chat here sharing some ideas. Let's go see what's going on with XRPizzle. They had some kind of case going on with something. It's been so long, I totally forget. That's an interesting looking chart. Do you see the difference here, guys? Do you see how we had sort of this like M top on Ethereum, but over here on XRP, we actually have this nice little W. Now, one of the things that I think is an exciting possibility going forward, which I've been waiting for a long time, is for the market to mature enough to a point where some assets can be in bull trends and some assets can be in bear trends, and there can be actual substance to the moves rather than just everything go up and down together with Bitcoin, which for the most part is what we've seen for the last few years, with the few exceptions where Bitcoin dominance would shoot up or down and against Bitcoin things would rally or not. But generally speaking, if Bitcoin made a huge dump, everything else just dumped. It was just all proxy to Bitcoin or in Ethereum in more recent years. So even though XRP is not in my portfolio, I'm very excited to see that it is printing a weekly W right now, even though a lot of the other majors look like shit. Because that means that we're breaking free of that early phase of ultimately what I've really hated trading, because it's like everything just kind of went up or down together. So if you have 4 or 5 positions on, they're all pretty much the same position, which is kind of lame. So let's have a look here. XRP does look really, really good. Not gonna lie. And I'm looking at the weekly. Right? Really important to think about time frames. When something looks good on the weekly, that means it could literally just dump 20% in the next 3 days and still look good on the weekly. For example, we have our low, higher low, and breakout. If this weekly were to close bullish, let's say it even tags this moving average. From there, it's got all this range up to 26% where it could really be dipping next and still be part of a bullish weekly uptrend. So just keep that in mind before you rush off and say, oh, RT says running by XRP. Because we're not here to take advice from me. So I'm not giving advice. But that kind of thing after a confirmation of a bullish weekly W, it's that kind of level that suddenly might get really exciting for me in the coming month. So good shout on XRP. That's actually one of the better looking weekly charts I've seen in a while, and it's a very liquid coin. So it makes it kind of fun to play in. Ryan Berg, still going on with Divvy. Top 2 gainer on CMC over the past week. Well, look, can't argue with that. Let's go see Divvy. Still going. Yeah, it's still going. This thing has some work to do. I still, again, you'd have to have a fundamental case that I don't have right now. But ever since you brought it up, it has just been running. Can't argue with that. Wouldn't touch it anywhere above this, though, as far as me joining right now, which I won't because I don't know what it does. And I'm actually not looking to get too adventurous into the end of the year. I think for me, portfolio management, tracking, tax-wise, everything, I would actually like to get back into resetting the portfolio. Not because I think it's the best idea, like trade-wise, but there's this whole thing called cost basis. And when you first buy a coin, you establish a cost basis. And if you buy and sell, that cost basis adjusts every time you make a transaction. Now, for those of you who haven't gone through it, I spent 6 months last year doing my taxes. Anyways, point being, one of the easiest ways to get back on track, which we did last year and now have slipped again this year because I've been trading like a mofo. If you sell everything to cash, you kind of reset, and then you start with a new cost basis. So if I cannot establish an accurate cost basis on any of my bags this year, I need to cut them to cash. I guess that's what I'm saying. So I'm not getting into too many new coins into the end of the year. And frankly, I think that may serve me well, just because the market kind of looks like shit. So not taking on too many new positions other than little quick ins and outs and trades. ETH BTC has caused or has experienced a bearish kind of M top right at range highs. So that's not too great. Any kind of move up here should be considered an opportunity to enter short if I was trying to trade this. That's my 2 cents. I think revisiting these range lows from here looks kind of probable. So what does that look like? Test to the underside of that M, and then whatever it looks like. Still a gap to fill here. Still a little gap to fill here. So that looks like what we're going to get here on ETH BTC in the coming whatever. And now we've got Gary Gensler and the SEC claiming that because a lot of nodes are validators are in the U.S., that therefore they have jurisdiction over that. We'll see how that goes. But it is what it is. There's going to be, and I was kind of worried about that, that we're just going to have some new narratives emerging around ETH now that it's POS, and it's going to take some time. The uptrend I was looking at on the Trendmaster, both of those have broken down, unfortunately, which can't be too surprising because we're not really meant to get into a strong trending market more than a sideways choppy washing machine cycle. All this makes me even more excited about Hxro Network going live because it's something that I can do, something I can work on, something I can kind of be part of the beta testing and trading instead of this like overwhelming bull market where everything's just going crazy. There's silver linings to like in it for the tech happening during this bear. CHZ. All right, we got CHZ. Another one from Dan Dubois who brought up XRP. I can't get over how good XRP looks. I mean, it's just an amazing looking chart. Rising volume, all this. This is not the kind of entry I take, but my God, I need to put this on my short list. Sweet, if you're watching, XRP short list. Get that weekly confirmation, and then the PCZ or RLZ dip could be a nice multi-month long position. Ryan Berg says, I don't want to keep bugging you today, and I respect your time, but if you want to be informed more on Divi and why I'm so into it, I'd love to explain. Ryan Berg, I would suggest, because I actually am curious, I would suggest you drop a little blurb in the pit in Discord and just tag me, and I will read it. I promise. I don't know if I'll go buy it. I may not become a Divi acolyte, but I'm certainly curious to read up on what you know, because you are persistent about it, which means you probably got some good insight. CHZ or Z, and you're talking about World Cup. So yeah, we got the World Cup coming up. That's kind of exciting. I will watch. I'm not a big football soccer guy, but if the World Cup is on, I will watch it. And I think Canada even made it this year. We qualified for it, which is cool because we usually suck. So I will certainly be watching it in that sense. Let's see. So if CHZ has some kind of narrative that will benefit from the World Cup, is I think what you're saying. And at the very least, it looks like we could get like a nice little fib extension trade here. It looks like it's already kind of breaking out a little bit. So that would be here. Wonder if that would align with a little chaos. Not really. It lines up here. What else? What was the other tool I was just about to use? Oh, well, if you're going to be like a harmonic. Yeah, those usually kind of line up with the fib extensions. So if I wanted to target a continuation trade here, without getting into all the details of what a bot trade looks like, it would be something up probably around here. 38 cents. Can I get a dip first? I think that was the dip. Is at least the way I trade. That was probably the pump tracer zone right here. Yep. So away she goes. So yeah, CHZ looks pretty good. Volume kind of rising up. This is the 3-day, so I suppose we could zoom in and look at it. You can see lots of volume coming in. So there is definitely some buzz on this one. So if it kind of double tops here, rolls back down a little bit, might be something to look at. Because, of course, that double top wouldn't confirm unless price traded below the midpoint. So, let's see. One to look into as well. And Atom, of course. Let's go see Atom. Atom's one we've been tracking over the last few weeks. Thanks to the audience who's brought it to our attention. They have their conference coming up pretty soon. Doesn't look too great here. It's definitely, it's still in a bull trend, but if it closes a daily below here, that's the end of it. That's basically let's put a fork in it for a few months or weeks or whatever. In which case, we can, of course, look for the PCZ for super bullish. We could get a little more conservative and wait for things like the reload zone. There's some lows right here that I guarantee you, if those get swept, the tune will change. It'll be like, same old Adam, no value accrual, blah, 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 and might end up being the bottom of whatever that move is. So let's just keep an eye. It's really, I know it's annoying. Like a lot of people are like, well, when do you use the PCZ, when not? PCZ was a tool that I designed for use in times when there was FOMO in the market. When things just, if you didn't get them really quickly on the pullbacks, they were just gone. And then you were going to maybe miss 5, 10Xs. We're not in that market state right now. So while some things are going to, like CCZ, we just saw, Chili's, came down and then just went, that's going to happen still. It's just not as high a probability. So I don't love trading the pump chaser zone outside of a bull market, even though sometimes it works. If we're going to go into a sideways washing machine cycle kind of phase, which is what I believe we'll be doing here, something like this, where the market just doesn't really go anywhere for a while. I mean, that's June 2019 until January 2021. Yeah, there's a lot of noise in here. And if we zoomed in, there's actually some pretty big moves. But overall, it's a sideways market. I think that's what we're headed into right now. That's my play. So I don't want to get too over the top with using this pump chaser zone tool as if things aren't going to just eventually come back and stick around. We're not really in a runaway market. Does that make sense? So while there is probably, quite possibly, a trade where Adam cools off, maybe post-conference right into here, and then, does that second leg up into this level, seems likely. I'm really going to be looking for conservative bets, which means, as a general rule, probably looking more for reload zone stuff, for better or worse. I found out I do actually have some Adam staking, but yes, does look tired. Kevin says, I'm ruthless and I'll be shorting the next bounce. There you go. So XRP has the SEC narrative at the moment. Yeah, if they beat that case, that's going to be really bullish for them. And that's actually something I remember Rob kind of mentioned last year. Keeping an eye on that would be an interesting play. It's funny how now that it might actually be coming to fruition, all of a sudden, most people aren't talking about XRP. I think somebody told me AVAX was tanking today. It's not that bad, is it? Yeah, not really. God. Not a whole lot of juice. I was away this weekend, so I wasn't watching too closely, but the market, the week opened just kind of like, meh, like boring. But the interesting thing is that we're in this reload zone of all of what we just saw through the summer. That is a place to be thinking about taking long setups. If I'm in the mood to take long setups, this is really where I want to be doing it. Simply because the risk reward. Not because necessarily like whether I think it's probable that we're going to move up from here or not. The fact is I can tuck this in against the lows, and that's a setup I like to take. And I'm not really specific to AVAX on that, just in general. The whole market looks like this for the most part. Obviously not XRP. XRP looks even better. But like Ethereum. Oh, I'm so bullish. The merge, and look at all these emissions, and here we are coming into the reload zone, which if you zoom out is even within a much larger reload zone, which are just fib being a location tool of thinking about when to start thinking about buying things again. And we're in this like RLZ within an RLZ. In fact, we have a perfect alignment between the 786 here and the 786 on the higher time frame. And they both are about 1125. So I'm going to buy some ETH there. That's it. Whether I think we're sideways for a bit or not, that's where I'm buying some. There, I said it. I'll be adding back. Theta 4.0 mainnet due for December release. Does this chart look good or just like all the rest? Let's have a look. Theta was very bullish last year. Had a lot going on. Let's see what chart stuff I had. Yeah, just kind of a downtrend at that point. I remember, was it early 2021? I was hunting for shorts through here. I hit a couple scalps, got blown up once or twice, and then looked back and went, why wasn't I long? Ha ha ha. Can't win them all. But let's go see. I mean, first and foremost, I'll just say this. The chart looks bad. It's just trending down, has no real signs of reversal yet, and no real volume to suggest that big buyers have chosen this level to step in. So not any reason why I would be rushing to long this thing. If anything, I think at best it's just kind of come into that like bottom range where someday we can look back. Let's go to a weekly. Yeah, I mean, it's probably closer to the bottom than anything, as far as obviously closer to the top, but it's like just arrived. Moving average is still decidedly bearish. Interestingly, though, the MACD has already reversed. So it made a higher low and then a higher high here. So it's not nothing, but it's not that sexy. Certainly not enough to make me step out of my positioning now, which is mostly to try to get to January without taking on any big new investment level positions. So let's see. Oh, I did see the helium chart. I did not see the T-Mobile deal, though. That's pretty dope. Let's go check out HNT. Feels like some insiders knew about this deal a couple of weeks ago. I did, actually leading to this buy in volume, I noticed there was a nice, I think it's Tushar, the guy at Multicoin, put out a nice little thread on HNT. And that kind of led to this. All sounds a whole lot like everyone knew about the T-Mobile thing that was coming. Because that's exactly what insider buying looks like when suddenly big news drops here. So either way, the trade set up beautifully. Let's go look at it from the daily perspective. Okay. Wow. A lot to digest here. A lot to digest. So all the way out to the weekly. I mean, this thing had just fallen off a cliff. Big weekly breakout and buy volume. And that usually means someone knows something. So that's why oftentimes when I analyze these charts, I'm like, hey, is there any big buyers stepping in? Because they're the kinds of people you want to get long with. The whales. I mean, look at that buy volume. That's like 3x any other week in history for this coin. And that doesn't just happen randomly, like, I believe I'll go buy some HNT today. Like, that's when you just, so this is almost certainly when that news was actually established. Not announced, apparently, till today, but this is like somebody in a back room said, hey, we're signing with T-Mobile. Let's go buy something. So that's how it works. It's the way she goes. And then you get the drip down into the local reload zone. I bet there was some nice bull divs there. Yeah. So down into the reload zone. Print a W saying I'm about to reverse back to the upside. Even sweep the lows. So savage on bullish divergence. Across the board. And then now we're running. So that was actually a pretty sweet little trade that came in there. Setup, that is. And I think at the very least, if we can break out of here, should be able to get up into that sort of $7-8 range, according to this. And then from there, was this the bottom? And we just start to really push back up, taking back, I don't know, I guess first stop would be like the next major resistance. Where would that be? Yeah, kind of aligns with that fib extension. So, I mean, this may be the season that we're into now, where you just have, it's a coin picker's market. You just have this coin or that coin, this catalyst or that catalyst. There still is a hot ball of money swashing around, getting 100% gains here and there. It's just really going to be a lot harder to find it. And then probably still the kind of situation where you want to remember not to get stuck holding the bag. As that hot ball of money rotates to the next toy each month. HNT right here, down here, looks really good. How much legs that kind of an announcement has, and then longer term, who knows? But on the whole, I think it's probably one of the better longer term bags. I've never actually held any, but every time I hear about it, it's like doing well. You know, real world use cases, people running those cell provider nodes and all that cool shit. There was a T-Mobile exec on a Helium house panel. Yeah, people were speculating. Okay, that makes sense. Helium house to stay. Yeah. Yeah, no, I'm not throwing shade saying that there had to be some big massive insider conspiracy. I'm just saying if there was an announcement today and this buy volume was 2 weeks ago, it's certainly related. It's not like somebody got lucky with $4 billion in volume or whatever that was. That's all. It's the fucking way she goes, bud. It's the world we live in. Accept it. Thoughts on CRV chart. Stablecoin supposed to be released this month. Interesting. Didn't hear about that. CRV. So here's the funny thing, right? Like, I mean, look at this. Same thing. W's off the lows and now sliding back into reload zones. I want to be a bull here so badly. I'm not going to say I'm rushing all things to cash. I'm just being patient. Partially because of that tax and kind of organizational shit I want to take into January, but also because I accept that there's a good chance that the next phase of this market is going to be boring, painful, sideways, dried up volatility, blah, blah, blah. Aside from all that, this is exactly the kinds of long positions I look to be taking. After a big long downtrend, you wait and get that W reversal, breakout. I'd like to see a little more volume than I did see here, but then back in this reload zone. It's just a place to be thinking long. That's it. That's just all it is. Up and down. And then even more so, though, I'd like to get down in here and see some like bull divs. So like every new low that it makes in here, if I see RSI and MACD making higher lows, then you see a little W, then you see some buy volume. Then you get the next dip. And then hopefully for a couple of months, you could ride a nice little uptrend. So this one, while looking very attractive, is perhaps a little premature for a higher time frame trade. But, coming into some levels here, really across the board, ETH coming into the big W breakout it had, that's probably the biggest, most important chart to watch. The reason I am, I should say hesitant, I was going to say cautiously optimistic, but otherwise just really hesitant is because this looks like it's going to range lower for a bit. So maybe the real question is, what the hell is Bitcoin doing? Did you guys see Michael Saylor bought some Bitcoin today? Or recently? Poor guy. It's kind of sad. It's kind of like, not poor guy, he's a billionaire, but it's kind of sad to see like the size of his DCAs over the years. They were so big before, and I think this one was like 300 Bitcoin. Looking like through the couch cushions or something for a billionaire. Like, okay, fine. Found a little cash in the couch. Just going to DCA down. It's a little bit depressing, but let's see. Let's see how it's a bold strategy, Cotton. Let's see how it plays out. Local reload zone on Bitcoin. Previous all-time highs. Nice little band of resistance here. Turn support. This thing is getting beaten to death. At some point, it may break. And if it does, excuse me, some allergies kicking in here today. If it does, there's a potential vacuum all the way down to 12K. Don't be alarmed, folks. It's just the end of the world as we know it. But that's kind of how this reads right now. Lose this level and it's lights out. But seriously, this is a huge level. It's been spending some time here. Weaker bounce, weaker bounce. If this level breaks down, I could expect that to be a shocking break all the way down to 12K. Could happen over a matter of days, matter of weeks. Not going to sit here and say I think that's what's going to happen, but just saying that's probably how it would go down. For now, we actually had a really strong daily candle yesterday. So we came down, we swept that low, we swept all these lows, and then we shot back up and closed bullish. Some nice buy volume. So if there's a trade to be made here, it is to the long side. And the reason I like that long side trade here, even though I may not take it myself, as an analyst, the reason I like that is because, let's say, okay, I'm gonna risk to these lows. I'm gonna lose 8% of whatever I put on that trade if I'm wrong. But then I'll get the fuck out and avoid what might end up being that big drop, because there's not a whole lot of demand through that level. If I'm right and getting long through this works out and they don't actually take the lows, the upside is fairly infinite, depending on patience and funding and all that stuff. So, if I can't stand to wait until I see a big fat weekly W and the whole market turning around and whatever that takes, a couple years, a couple months, if I can't wait for that, this is certainly an interesting area to be thinking long. Risking to those lows. Fully accepting the fact that it could also just go and then go. That would be savage. But I guess if you see that happen, you can try to re-long from some kind of reclaim level up there. Tricky trading. So we'll always go back to the idea of like waiting for a weekly W is the best thing you can do at times like this, because you just don't see one here. Not even close. And if that's your hard, fast rule, saying I'm not touching another long position until I get that, you're not going to lose a friggin' dime in the meantime. There's a lot of people doing all this shit I'm doing right here, saying, oh, I'm going to maybe long against these lows and do this and do that and do this. And then there's a lot of people that are like, I'm not going to touch this market until I see weekly Ws on Bitcoin, on Ethereum, on the majors. And we just don't see it yet. So preserving capital, maybe less of a sexy topic for a show until you see something like this. XRP showing us what a weekly W looks like right off the 8862. Very cool. This is the kind of thing that makes me really bullish mid to long term, and then I want to start getting long. And typically I'd wait. Obviously I have to wait for this weekly candle to close, but even after that, it's like the next couple of reds in a row, and that's the dip. So the best thing I could do, whether I do it or not, is wait for the market to look like this. Right now, it's only XRP, so that's weird. MACD looks ready. Sailor did just, yeah, exactly. Mother of all bulls, run, start date pool. Give us best guess, not finish list. Okay. Oof. I don't know. I'd have to do a whole lot of charts, like some Gann stuff, asking what day the next bull run would start. That's such a, like, I know it's for fun, but it's a weird question. It's kind of like, rather than trying to guess, I will just tell you what the start of the next bull run will look like. And I guess we could do that on ETH. The start of the next bull run will probably look like the start of the last bull run. So let's examine. First of all, we had our counter trend rally, really just taking back a lot of what was lost during the previous bear right here. So that's just a bearish retest, nothing too spicy to look at. Then we dripped back down into the reload zone of that, which is what happened basically across the board. And technically, we didn't break out until right here. And even once that breakout happened, we were able to buy it on the retest. And that was the start of the next bull market. To go along with that, probably most importantly, we had a rise in volume. If we could totally ignore the COVID lows, that'd be great, because that was a bit of an anomaly. And outside of that, we just had rising buy volume, hinting. So that is what the transition from sort of bear market, sideways, and then resume bull. That's what it looks like. And it's probably going to look a lot the same this time. So we have some parts of that maybe, where we're coming into some reload zones, bouncing, and then we're going to trickling down in here. If we get through this and whatever that amount of time is, and we start to see some buy volume really tick up, we could say, hey, maybe it's going to be quicker this time. Adoption is here. The adoption curve is here. There's more buyers waiting. The bear market's going to be less drawn out. It's possible. So I guess my point is I don't really care when all this happens, but more importantly, I want to be able to recognize it as it happens. These are weeklies, by the way. So this is like months and months. Brian Beamish, the founder of TRI, the guy who taught me all the stuff I know. Crypto Jake, what's up, man? Good to have you. he has this thing about buying Ethereum in January that historically says basically January is like the best month of the year historically to buy Ethereum. I like the way that is starting to line up for this year. So let's have a look at what January Ethereum purchases look like historically. Let's say there. Not a bad time. Let's say there. Also not a bad time. Let's say there. Okay, fine. It was not a great time, but that was after 2 very good Januaries. Ooh, another one down here. Pivots in January. So at least we can say that it likes to pivot. Not a bad time for it. Also not a bad, kind of broke up into January for 2021. Nothing was a good buy this January. And I guess we're going to be somewhere for next one. So the idea being that historically, and I guess I could see why he would have made this determination, aside from the absolute top, but for very different reasons. I know for a fact that during this time he was in sort of get everything to cash. This is crazy, blow off top stuff. So to his credit, I guarantee you he was not loading up the truck in that January. And then this one was an interesting pivot. Same thing here, right before the COVID crash, but again, bit of an anomaly, kind of mid-bull. And then same thing this year. I was in chat with him, and I know he was not loading up. So Januaries can be really good. In fact, the January after the last peak was a great time to load. The January after this peak could end up being wherever that is on this chart. So aside from my usual TA, I'm also thinking about January this year. Yes, Brian Beamish is a legend. I agree, Dan. So high time frame and tax purposes and all this stuff. Remember, I'm trying to really reset my port. If nothing else, just for accounting purposes, get it all to cash. I can have fresh, beautiful, pure cost basis tracking done via API. Oh, it's going to be such a dream. To do that, though, I need to really reset things through the end of the year. That whole classic tax selling. Write off the losses, cash in the gains, pay all the tax, or in this case, get a refund this year, maybe. We'll see. I think Canadians actually can get refunds on losses if they had a gain the year before. So all that, and then January might be the year that, or the month that I'm looking to get some ETH. But I'm not going to lose sight of this section here. I can't not take along in this. I will definitely be trading this level if it comes in. There's just too much going on here. Too many things lining up around this green box for me not to want to have some long, some bids in here. So around 1100, I'll be taking some bids. Probably in the sort of like buy and hold department. Not as much like rush to sell if I'm wrong kind of thing. It'll be a smaller size and more just adding for the longer hold. A lot of people are saying that Sailor being wrecked is where the bear market ends. And it's possible. I think that'd be super savage. Judging by the size of his buys, he is not as flush as he was before. We are back to extreme fear, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. We shall see. We shall see. That's it today, guys. There's not a whole lot going on in the chart world other than, coming into generational long opportunities that could get rinsed. It's really tricky to say, guys. This is typically just where I would just take a long setup and, hey, if you're wrong, get stopped out. And so without overthinking it too much, I will be looking for some of those. But this is where everyone starts calling for bottoms or saying, oh, it's going to sweep the lows and then it's going to go. Or, there's just a lot of shit going on. So it's a really good time to stick to trading plans, not get too fancy, not get too aggressive or greedy, remembering that markets typically won't go from down to straight back up right away. There's a good chance we got a washing machine coming, which makes it very exciting that I can go mess around on the Hxro network, USDC collateralized perps, because those are all in beta, and that's going to be like kind of a fun little testing ground right now to get used to those and get those going for the next phase of the market, which will be undoubtedly a bull someday from some level at some time. I'll be here for it. And hopefully you will be too, if you always play from a position of strength. Thanks for joining us, guys. Sorry about Gunny's audio today. Wasn't too sharp. That's hotel stuff for you. Wasn't my internet. Nice try. But yes, we will be back Thursday for DeltaFi. Should have Levy and Gunny back on full audio, and we'll get all that going. And otherwise, stay tuned to the Twitter handle, Hxro Network, because they're going to put out, we might get Gunny in the Discord today for some voice to go over all the things he wanted to say today but couldn't because of the choppy audio. And that's it.